Welcome to Soul Spirit Stories, where real courage, humanity, and the unseen strength of the soul come alive. Every story here speaks to the heart, reminding us that no matter how dark the world gets, one act of bravery can still light up the night. It was a quiet Friday evening in a small neighborhood just outside Los Angeles. The streets were dimly lit, the hum of traffic distant, and a soft wind carried the faint sounds of laughter from the local diner. For most people, it was just another evening. But for one single father named Ethan Cole, it was a night that would test every ounce of his courage. Ethan had always lived a simple life, a 38-year-old single dad. He worked as a mechanic in a small auto shop during the day and spent his evenings taking care of his daughter Lily. She was just 9 years old, a bright, curious, and kind-hearted little girl who loved sketching and reading bedtime stories with her dad. Since his wife passed away in a car accident 3 years earlier, Ethan had made a promise to himself. No matter how hard things got, Lily would never feel alone. He had learned to cook, to braid her hair before school, to sit through parent-teacher meetings, and even to laugh through his exhaustion so she wouldn't see his pain. That evening, Ethan and Lily were walking home from her friend Mia's house after a small birthday party. Mia's family lived only a few blocks away, and it was a quiet walk through the neighborhood. The moonlight glowed against the empty street as Lily held her dad's hand tightly, swinging it back and forth. "Dad, can we go to the park tomorrow?" she asked, her eyes sparkling. Ethan smiled. "Of course, kiddo. Maybe we'll get ice cream too." But as they turned the corner, something changed. The soft rhythm of their footsteps was interrupted by the low rumble of music, the kind that made your chest tighten. Ahead, near the old convenience store, stood a group of young men. 5 of them, dressed in dark clothes, tattoos covering their arms, leaning against a black car. Their laughter echoed through the street, sharp and reckless. Ethan slowed his steps. He knew that part of the neighborhood had seen trouble lately. Gangs marking territory, picking fights, scaring off families. He hoped they'd just pass quietly. But fate had a different plan. As they neared the corner, 2 teenage girls came running from the opposite side. One of them tripped, almost falling, her phone clattering across the pavement. The other girl turned back, panicked. "Leave us alone," she screamed. The gang members' laughter grew louder. One of them, tall, heavy-built, wearing a red bandana, stepped forward, taunting. "Come on, sweetheart, don't make it hard. We just want to talk." Ethan froze. Lily's hand gripped tighter. He could see the terror in the girl's eyes. Maybe 17, maybe 18, clearly out of their depth. One of the men moved closer, blocking their path. Ethan could have turned around. He could have taken Lily and walked the other way, pretending he hadn't seen anything. But something inside him, that deep, unshakable instinct of a father, refused to let that happen. He whispered to Lily, "Stay behind me, sweetheart. Don't move." Lily's heart pounded. "Dad, everything's gonna be okay," he said softly, his eyes fixed ahead. Then Ethan stepped forward. His boots echoed against the pavement as he placed himself between the frightened girls and the men. The streetlight caught the lines on his face, the quiet determination in his eyes. "That's enough," he said, his voice calm but firm. "They said leave them alone," the leader smirked. "Who the hell are you, old man?" "Just someone telling you to back off," Ethan replied. The men exchanged looks, half amused, half annoyed. The one in the red bandana stepped closer. "You really want to do this in front of your kid?" "Bad idea, Pops." Ethan didn't flinch. "You touch them, you'll have to go through me first." For a second there was silence, thick electric silence. The girls stood frozen behind Ethan, clutching each other's hands. Lily watched her father, fear flooding her chest. She wanted to scream, to run, but her dad's calm voice anchored her. Then one of the gang members spat on the ground. "This guy's crazy." "Yeah," another laughed. "Crazy or stupid?" But something about Ethan's stance, his eyes steady, his shoulders unyielding, made them hesitate. He wasn't bluffing. This wasn't some desperate act. This was a man who'd already faced loss, who knew what it meant to fight for someone he loved. The leader took one more step forward, mocking him. "You think you can stop us?" Ethan slowly raised his hand, motioning toward his daughter. There's a kid here. Don't make this worse for yourselves." The tension grew thick enough to cut. One of the younger gang members, barely older than a teen, shifted nervously. "Hey man, maybe we should go. This ain't worth it." But the leader wasn't backing down yet. He grabbed a beer bottle from the car, smashed it against the door, glass shattering. "You got a death wish, old man?" Ethan didn't step back. He didn't raise his voice. "You want to scare someone, scare me, but you're not laying a finger on those girls." Then, in a split second of madness, the leader swung the broken bottle toward Ethan. But Ethan moved. With pure instinct, he blocked the swing with his forearm, pain slicing through his skin. He pushed the man back hard, sending him stumbling. The girls screamed. Lily began to cry. "Dad!" Ethan turned his head slightly. "It's okay, Lily." "Stay back!" The other men lunged forward. But before they could get close, a car turned the corner, headlights cutting through the dark. Startled, the gang members froze. The car stopped, and a man stepped out wearing a security guard uniform from a nearby warehouse. "What's going on here?" he shouted, hand on his flashlight. The gang members hesitated. Then the leader cursed under his breath. "Forget it. Let's go." They piled into their car, tires screeching as they sped away into the night. The sound echoed down the block, fading into silence. Ethan exhaled slowly, his arm bleeding but his body steady. The girls ran to him, trembling. "Thank you, sir." Thank you," one whispered, tears streaking her cheeks. He nodded. "You're safe now. Get home, tell your parents, call the police." The security guard came closer, shining his light on Ethan's arm. "You're hurt, man." Ethan just shook his head. "I'll be fine." Then he turned to Lily, kneeling down despite the pain. "Hey, you okay, kiddo?" She nodded through tears, wrapping her tiny arms around him. "You're bleeding, Daddy." He smiled faintly. "Yeah, but I'm okay." The guard offered to call an ambulance, but Ethan refused. He just wanted to go home, to hold his daughter close, and know she was safe. When they reached home, Ethan cleaned his wound in the kitchen sink. The room was quiet, except for the dripping faucet. Lily sat at the table, eyes red from crying. "Dad," she said softly, "why did you do that? What if they hurt you?" Ethan turned, his voice gentle but steady. "Because, sweetheart, sometimes doing the right thing means standing up even when it's scary. If we look away when someone's in trouble, then what kind of people are we?" She thought about that for a moment, then walked up and hugged him tight. "You're my hero?" He smiled and kissed her forehead. "No, Lily. I just did what any dad should do." The next morning, the story spread around the neighborhood. The two girls, Emily and Sarah, told the police what had happened, how a single dad stepped between them and a group of gang members, risking his life to protect strangers. Local news caught wind of it, calling him the guardian father. Reporters tried to visit his home, but Ethan avoided the spotlight. He wasn't looking for attention, just peace. A week later, a police officer stopped by his house. "Mr. Cole," he said, "those guys were arrested last night. Turns out they'd been causing trouble for weeks. What you did helped us track them down." Ethan just nodded. "I'm glad those girls are safe." After the officer left, Lily came running into the living room, holding a drawing she made. It showed a man standing tall between two frightened girls with the words, "My dad, my hero," written at the top. Ethan took the paper in his hand, eyes misting over. "That's beautiful, kiddo," she smiled. "You're brave, Daddy. I want to be brave like you." He looked at her, and in that moment, all the exhaustion, all the pain, seemed to fade. He realized that bravery wasn't just about facing danger. It was about love. The kind that protects, the kind that stands up even when the world looks away. That night, as Lily slept peacefully, Ethan sat by the window, watching the quiet street outside. The same street that had once been filled with danger was now calm again. He thought of his wife, how she used to tell him that love makes people fearless. He whispered softly, "You were right, and maybe somewhere beyond the stars." She smiled. From that day on, the people in that neighborhood remembered the single dad who stood between two girls and danger. Not because he was a hero by name, But because he was a father who lived by the courage of his heart, Ethan's story spread far beyond his small town. Online communities shared it, calling him an example of what real strength means. Not muscles, not anger, but the unbreakable spirit of a parent who'd give everything to keep others safe. And though Ethan never saw himself as extraordinary, every time he walked down that same street with Lily's hand in his, there was a quiet pride in his heart, the kind that comes only from knowing you did the right thing when it mattered most. Months later, one of the girls he saved, Emily, sent him a letter. It read, "Dear Mr. Cole, you probably don't remember me much, but I'll never forget you. That night I thought it was the end for us. You stood up for strangers, for me and my friend, when you didn't have to. I'm studying to become..." Days passed after that unforgettable night. The neighborhood slowly returned to its peaceful rhythm, but Ethan Cole's world had changed. His arm still ached where the glass had cut deep, though the doctor said it would heal fine. What would take longer to heal were the memories, the moment he looked into those frightened girls' eyes and felt the pulse of danger against his chest. It was Sunday morning. The sun filtered through the half-drawn curtains of Ethan's modest home. The smell of pancakes filled the kitchen as Lily sat at the table, humming softly while drawing with her crayons. Ethan flipped the pancakes, pretending to be calm, but his mind kept replaying the night, the faces of those men, the trembling hands of the girls, and the sound of Lily's small voice screaming his name. "Dad," Lily asked suddenly, breaking his thoughts, "did those bad guys go to jail?" Ethan turned and smiled faintly. "Yeah, sweetheart. The police caught them. They won't be bothering anyone again," she nodded, still sketching. "Good. They were scary." Ethan placed a pancake on her plate and sat across from her. "You know," he said gently, "it's okay to be scared sometimes. Even brave people get scared. Were you scared, Daddy?" He paused. "Yeah, I was terrified. But when I saw those girls, I thought, if I don't stand up, then who will? And sometimes being brave just means doing what's right, even when you're afraid." Lily's small hand reached out and touched his. "Like Mommy used to say." Ethan's smile softened. "Exactly, like your mom." There was silence for a moment, a kind of peaceful stillness that felt sacred. Then Lily grinned. "Then I'm going to be brave too, like you and Mommy." Ethan chuckled. "Oh, you already are, kiddo." Later that day, the doorbell rang. Ethan opened the door to find a woman standing there with two teenage girls, the same ones he had saved that night. They held a bouquet of flowers. The mother spoke first, her eyes moist. "Mr. Cole, we just wanted to thank you. I don't even have words for what you did." Ethan looked down at the girls, who were shy but smiling now. "You don't have to thank me. I'm just glad you're okay." Emily, the younger of the two, handed him the flowers. "We brought these. My mom said they're for heroes." Ethan shook his head. "I'm no hero, Emily. I just did what anyone should." Her mother's voice trembled. "Most people would have turned away. You didn't." Lily peeked from behind her dad's leg, smiling shyly at the girls. "Hi," she said softly. "Hi," Emily replied with a wave. "You've got a brave dad." Lily looked up proudly. "I know." The women left after a few minutes, but their gratitude lingered in the air long after they were gone. Ethan placed the flowers on the dining table beside a framed photo of his late wife. Her smile, frozen in time, seemed to glow under the morning light. He whispered, "I did my best, love." That night, as darkness fell again, Ethan stood by the window, staring at the quiet street. But this time there was no fear, only peace. The same street that had once been a scene of chaos now felt calm, safe. Somewhere inside, he knew he'd done something that mattered, not just for those girls, but for his own daughter too. Lily came up beside him, holding her drawing pad. "Dad, look," she said, handing him her newest sketch. It was a picture of the two of them, holding hands under a bright sun, the words, "We're safe now," written in crayon. Ethan's throat tightened. He lifted her up and hugged her close. "You know something, Lily? You make me strong." She smiled sleepily against his shoulder. "You make me safe." He carried her to her room, tucked her under the blanket, and kissed her forehead. "Good night, brave girl." "Good night, Daddy." As he turned off the light, Ethan looked at her one last time, his little girl sleeping peacefully, and realized something profound. Courage didn't always roar in the face of danger. Sometimes it whispered in the quiet moments after, in the way a father held his daughter tighter, the way a community healed, and the way the night no longer felt as dark. The scars on his arm would fade, but the strength he discovered that night, the kind born from love and responsibility, would never leave him. Outside, a soft wind rustled the trees, carrying with it the faint echo of a promise Ethan made long ago. "No matter what happens, I'll always protect you." And that promise, stronger than fear, stronger than pain, would live in his heart forever. The next morning, as the sun rose over the horizon, Ethan smiled quietly. Life was fragile, unpredictable, but as long as he had Lily and the courage to do what was right, he knew he could face whatever came next. Because true bravery isn't about winning a fight, it's about standing your ground when it matters, for love, for family, for what's right. And in that, Ethan Cole had already won. It had been a month since that night. The night when Ethan Cole, a quiet single father, had stood between danger and two helpless girls. The small neighborhood that once buzzed with fear had now found its heart again. The gang that terrorized the area was behind bars, and the community began to breathe freely once more. But for Ethan, life remained simple. He still woke up early, made Lily's breakfast, fixed cars at the garage, and spent his evenings reading bedtime stories. He didn't see himself as a hero. To him, he was just a father doing what any parent would do. One Friday morning, as Ethan was wiping grease from his hands at the auto shop, his boss, an older man named Frank, came over with a grin. "Hey, tough guy," Frank said, handing him a folded piece of paper. "This came for you." Ethan frowned. "For me?" "Yeah, from the city hall. Looks official." Ethan unfolded the letter. It was an invitation. "The City Council of Glendale honors Mr. Ethan Cole for his act of bravery and service to the community." The ceremony was to be held that weekend. Ethan shook his head, smiling faintly. "They really don't have to do that." Frank patted his shoulder. "You earned it, son. Don't argue with good people wanting to say thank you." That weekend, the small park in the center of town was filled with families, local officers, and neighbors. A small stage had been set up, decorated with flowers, and the American flag fluttering softly in the breeze. Ethan arrived quietly with Lily, who wore a little yellow dress and held his hand proudly. As they walked through the crowd, people smiled, waved, and whispered. Some he didn't even know came up to thank him. "That man's a hero," one elderly woman said. "He saved those girls," another added softly. Ethan smiled awkwardly, nodding politely. He wasn't used to attention. On the stage, the mayor stepped forward. "Today," he began, "we honor a man who reminded us that real courage doesn't wear a badge or a title. It simply acts when others hesitate. Mr. Ethan Cole, would you please join us?" Applause erupted as Ethan walked up to the stage, holding Lily's hand. She squeezed his fingers and whispered, "Go on, Daddy." He took a deep breath and approached the microphone. His voice was calm but humble. I don't know what to say. I'm not much of a speaker. I didn't do anything special. I just saw two young girls in trouble, and I did what I hope anyone else would do." He paused, glancing down at Lily, who looked up at him with pride shining in her eyes. "I've learned that being a father means standing between your child and the world, sometimes even between strangers and danger. I didn't do it for thanks. I did it because doing nothing wasn't an option." The crowd was silent, hanging on his every word. We all live in a world that can be hard sometimes, but courage isn't something big or loud. It's just love that refuses to back down. The mayor smiled and handed him a small plaque. "In recognition of extraordinary courage and selflessness, Ethan Cole." Applause thundered through the park. Lily ran up and hugged his leg. "You did it, Daddy!" Ethan bent down, smiling softly. "No, kiddo, we did it." After the ceremony, people lined up to shake his hand. The two girls he saved, Emily and Sarah, were there too, both wearing bright smiles. Emily handed him another envelope. "We made something for you." Ethan opened it. Inside was a photo of all three of them, the girls smiling with Ethan in the middle, and written underneath in neat handwriting, "Because you cared, we're still here. Thank you." He looked up, his throat tight. "Thank you, girls. Stay brave." As the sun began to set, the mayor's wife approached Lily and handed her a small medal that matched her father's plaque. "This one's for you, sweetheart," she said kindly. "For being brave when your dad needed to be brave too." Lily's eyes widened. "For me?" Ethan laughed softly, his heart full. "Looks like you're officially my sidekick now." That evening, as they walked home through the same streets where fear once lingered, Ethan felt something shift. The corners that once echoed with danger now held warmth and gratitude. People waved from their porches, kids rode their bikes freely, and life felt safe again. When they reached home, Lily placed her medal next to her father's plaque on the shelf. "So we'll never forget," she said. Ethan smiled. "We won't, kiddo." That night, after Lily fell asleep, Ethan sat on the porch, listening to the crickets and the distant hum of cars. He held his late wife's old locket in his hand, whispering softly, "I kept my promise. She's safe." He looked up at the night sky, stars twinkling like tiny memories. Somewhere inside, he felt her presence, warm, proud, eternal. He realized that courage doesn't fade when danger ends. It becomes part of who you are. A few weeks later, a newspaper article appeared with a headline that read, "Single dad stood between two girls and gang members. His bravery changed a town." The story spread far beyond Glendale. Letters came in from strangers, thanking him for his courage. But Ethan never replied with long speeches or self-praise. He simply wrote one line on every response: "Do what's right, even when no one's watching." Years later, Lily would tell that story to her own children, about the night her father stood between danger and the innocent, and how his love taught her what real strength means. Ethan Cole never sought fame. He never asked for recognition. But his name became a quiet legend, a reminder that one man's courage can ripple through countless lives. Because sometimes the strongest hearts don't belong to warriors or heroes. They belong to fathers who stand in the dark, unshaken, protecting the light that matters most. And that light, that love, never goes out.